Marco. This is Matt for Into Boxing. Delighted to be joined by Sky Sports' Adam Smith. Adam, one hell of a main event for all the people who wrote Jack Catterall off. They need to look themselves in the mirror after that. He put on a high quality performance, but ultimately Josh retained the belts. What's your initial reaction?
Yeah, I thought the decision was wrong. I think Jack Catterall won the fight, however you score it. And look, there were one or two rounds that were close, especially the back end, but I thought he boxed the best performance I've ever seen Jack Catterall. I thought he was terrific. I thought that Josh Taylor was frustrated. I thought he didn't really get into a rhythm. May have been a problem with the weight. Just wasn't his night. And he said in the post-fight presser that his performance was bad, but he believed he won the fight. I don't. I believe, and I'm not alone here. There was every single person, I think, around ringside, whether it was Hannah Rankin and Matt Macklin who were on commentary with me, or whether it was Barry Jones and Spencer Oliver and Johnny Nelson and Carl Frampton, and everybody that I've spoken to thinks that Jack Catterall won by a considerable distance and was stunned by the decision. And I think Josh put everything into the fight. For me, it wasn't his night, and it was Jack Catterall's night, and I feel I feel heartbroken really for Jack and for his team, Jamie Moore and Nigel Travis, and yeah, that was brilliant what he did tonight. And yeah, there was times where it was messy, times it was difficult, but if you say they both lost a point, there was a knockdown against Josh Taylor, and he probably lost 4 or 5 of those first 6 rounds. He didn't win the fight, and I just think it's a real shame, and I don't know, what can you do? You can ask the board, you can look at scoring, you can review stuff, but I mean, sometimes you get, I thought Josh won by a round, I thought Jack won by a round, whatever. Yeah. I haven't found anybody that didn't think it was very wide.
I was just about to say, you get them fights where it can be subjective, and when you get to the end of a fight, I think if you have it 1 round to 1 or maybe 2 at the most and it goes the other way, you can sort of maybe go, you know what, might just be dependent on what you like, but the general consensus was 5, 6. Yeah. I mean, some people Twitter going, this is 6-0 Catterall, and when you're looking at it, there's a valid argument for it. But let's just give credit for a minute for Jamie Moore and Nigel in that corner, because they put together one hell of a game plan against somebody who is, without doubt, pound for pound, one of the best in boxing, Josh Taylor.
No question, I adore Josh Taylor. I love him. I think he's fantastic. I think he's one of the best fighters in the sport. It just wasn't his night. And Jack Catterall executed a perfect game plan. Jamie Moore and Nigel Travis came up with he got into a rhythm really quickly. He stayed off. His timing was really good. Little combinations. He was economical. He lost his way a little bit, sort of 8, 9, 10 a little bit. But some of those rounds were close. And I said in commentary it's subjective. And ultimately it's down to the 3 judges and how they score it, but I thought it was a very bad decision.
In terms of Josh Taylor, where do you think it went wrong tonight? Because many people were talking about the weight and that he looked tight. He said a lot of times beforehand, look, he could make this for the rest of his career. Obviously he's going to say that maybe, but when you look at it, was it a weight problem? Was it the crowd? Was it the pressure? Because he's been wanting this so much. Do you think maybe he wanted it that much, maybe it zapped him a bit when he came out of an injury?
I think sometimes you just don't flow, and he didn't flow tonight, and for us, we expect Josh Taylor to look incredible pretty much every time he puts the gloves on, because he's that talented. He didn't flow, so it's partly him, partly the weight. I thought he looked very drained on the scales, and I think that, I was talking to Todd DeBerth last night that in fact he has to go up to welterweight, and he's just obviously confirmed that. Possibly that was the weight draining through, but for me it was that he never got into a rhythm, but he wasn't allowed to. And I think you've got to give huge credit for Jack Catterall for offsetting him and for putting his game plan in. And I just thought he landed some wonderful combinations, a beautiful use of the jab. I thought he boxed freely. I thought at times when he was in a bit of trouble when it was up close, he just found a way to get out. And I don't know, I just thought it was a really good performance from Jack Catterall.
For me, when you're watching it, it was his use of the shoulder, and he mentioned that he'd sparred the likes of Mayweather, Canelo, but when Josh tended to get in close, he'd dip down, put his shoulder straight into Josh, and you're looking thinking, this looks like someone who's very seasoned at championship level, and it was a huge step up from the level he's fought at, but he's doing it, and looks like he's winning the round. So what did you make of that and how he did that?
I had a feeling last week, sometimes you just get it, that Kell Brook was going to put on a great performance on Saturday night, because he just looked at ease at himself, and Jack looked so calm and comfortable all week. And I mean, people say that know him better than I do, that's what he's like anyway, but I just thought he just had an air of somebody who had no pressure on his shoulders. He was just going to go out and win a boxing fight, and he believed in his ability and the game plan. And I think, as Jamie Moore summed up afterwards, you do that and you execute something, almost perfectly, not quite perfectly because you don't get everything right, but the best he could have done, really, against pound for pound one of the best fighters in Josh Taylor, and to have nothing to show for that, and to have a scorecard by 3 points against him, I just baffles me. And I mean, people were much more angry than me at ringside, saying it was a disgrace, it was shocking, that there should be massive recriminations about this, there should be inquests, including Ben, and I think that I totally understand that, and it's hard because I respect every fighter that gets in the ring, and Josh Taylor put an immense amount of effort in tonight. But for me, Jack Catterall won the fight, he won it convincingly, he should be the world champion, and he should have his night, and that's nothing against Josh Taylor, that's just what I saw.
Everyone's always in a tricky position, especially when you work close with fighters. Look, Adam Smith, you've been very good with your time again for me and in 2 Boxing. Appreciate you, and we'll catch up in the next fight now.
Sure, no problem at all.